Hello, my name is Zach Gittleman, and for the third consecutive year, this is What's Cooking at Riverview.
My name is Jimmy Kashivas, and I'm very proud and honored to be here at the Cape Cod Media Center for the second consecutive year for What is Cooking at Riverview.
And I'm Will Moorhan from Riverview School at the Cape Cod Media Center.
Hello, my name is Zach Gittleman, and welcome to this special edition of What's Cooking at Riverview. Welcome back for our third season of What's Cooking at Riverview. I hope you all had a wonderful summer, and to start off our new season, we will be interviewing longtime Riverview staff member and world traveler and former military officer, Mr. Frank Antonioli. Hello.
Hi, Zach.
And good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the studio today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we are honored to have you here today, and thanks for serving our country.
Thank you, Zach.
So, to start off, how many years did you serve in the military?
Well, actually, I was obligated for 6 years, and I served 4 years active duty and 2 years in the reserves, military reserves.
So, what branch of the military did you serve in?
The Navy. Naval Air Force, Zach. Ironically, I spent 4 years on active duty in the Navy and never went on a ship. Okay.
That's
Our planes were too big to land on a ship, and we were land-based.
Weren't you also involved in? Weren't you also involved with some of the, like, advising of our military, like with our nuclear?
I had some exposure to two special weapons, and that's about all I can mention right now.
That's personal disclosed information. So, being in the military for the time you were, what are some important life lessons you have learned from serving in the military?
Well, I think, Zach, being in the military, you really had to be responsible for the job that you did. It was so incredibly important. Sometimes the jobs you did, lives of other people were involved, the safety of other people were involved, and the upkeep of the plane we flew. So, you know, there are an awful lot of life's lessons, okay? Real simple ones, too. I mean, being on time, you had to be on time for your flight. While we flew, we had to perform your job as best you could. And after we landed back at home base or wherever.
Where was your home base in the time?
Hold on, Zach. Wherever we landed, there was a post-flight inspection of all of your equipment, and you know, you had to make sure that it was in good working order for the next flight.
So, where was your home base?
Home base was Jacksonville, Florida, and then I also flew out of Brunswick, Maine, in the United States. But there were other bases forward bases that
Were there any foreign bases you had to fly to during the time of day?
Oh, sure. Yeah, Rota, Spain, Sigonella, Sicily, Suda Bay, Crete, and some other unknown places.
So, what is your favorite thing about working at Riverview as a teacher?
Oh, another subject. The favorite thing? Oh, is working with the students.
Yes, working with the
Oh,
students.
yeah, that's my very favorite. It's
what do you like
right
about
now? Okay, I'm enjoying this an awful lot, Zach.
What do you like?
Like,
what are some of the things that makes you enjoy it so much?
well, it's when I see someone like yourself, a lot of other students, and they come in as Phase 1 students, and you know they're pretty new to Riverview and with the GROW program, and then they get used to how it all works and the schedule and things. And then we get into Phase 2 in the second year, and travel training and all banking and all the things. And then in Phase 3, where there are an awful lot of internships, it's very exciting to see people in their third year. And when they graduate, to hear where they are, what they're doing, what they're involved with, it's really great.
So to see how far they've came from when they first came here to not, being able to, take a bus properly to being able to be on time and have use transportation resources to get to their jobs and be successful.
Yeah. And the one key thing too, Zach, is the independence. You know, thinking for themselves. This is where I need to be. This is what I need to do, and all of that. It's really so when you ask, you know, what is the most? It's working with the students, but seeing the growth over 3 years. It's terrific.
And motivating them.
Oh yeah. Well, that's part of my job.
And so what schools did you work at prior to working at Riverview?
Well, I started out being an elementary teacher in Wiscasset, Maine, and then I became a principal in Waldoboro, Maine, and then I was down in Bath, Maine as a principal, and then headmaster of a middle school in Islamabad, Pakistan, and then a teacher in Korea,
Wow.
Seoul, Korea, and then finally in Saudi Arabia. And then after leaving the kingdom in 2002, I came here in 2003 to Riverview.
And how many years, the next question is I have for you,
Sure.
is how many years have you worked at Riverview?
This is my 17th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you're like one of the longtime members. You've seen a lot of students
I
and
think,
staff
yeah,
come in
I've
and
seen
out.
a lot of students, come in and graduate.
So how was it like living in another, country? You've lived in many different countries. Like, what is it like?
Well, it's pretty exciting, actually, Zach. One of the things you want to do, or at least I did, and my family, we tried to learn about the customs of that country. We tried to learn as much as we could. I tried to learn the language, at least basics of a language. I certainly didn't learn Urdu overnight, or Arabic overnight, or Hangul in Korea. But we learned the basics and the customs and things one ought not to do, things you do.
Yeah.
And
You've had a
so-
lot of great stories you've told me.
Oh, yeah.
So what was your favorite place to travel?
Actually, Zach, when I think of all of the countries that we've been in, I always found every country was unique, okay? And there were unique things about each country. So I don't have a favorite country, but I found in all of the different countries I visited something unique to it, which we found really, really interesting.
Was it the people, or was it the landscapes?
Certainly the people had a lot to do with it. Probably 80% of living in another country, interacting with the local population as best I could, because my Arabic wasn't great or my Urdu wasn't great. But sometimes
There weren't translators when you were around there.
No. And but another thing, the geography was really interesting, because in Pakistan we traveled through the Himalayas, and that was really interesting to see, and to travel on the Hunjarab pass that we went.
You told me about that. The
into
Chinese traveling
Chinese,
from
yeah,
Pakistan
into
to China, and the amazing landmarks you've seen.
It was incredible. Yeah, incredible.
So you must have been very fortunate to have had the experiences. How were you able to make those teaching jobs and being able to live in those countries happen for yourself in your life?
Well, how did we get the jobs?
How did you look into it? How did you apply?
Well,
what was the process?
there's an organization called International School Services, and they hold big conventions each year in different cities, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., New York City, and where you interview with superintendents, because there are hundreds and hundreds of American schools all over the world. Some of them are connected to the United States Embassy, others are connected and funded by corporations, and some are funded by other governments. So that's how we started working overseas.
You must cherish those experiences forever in your heart.
Well, I do.
and your
Oh,
family.
Yeah, good. A lot of good memories and a lot of exposure for our daughters.
What are your
learning,
daughters' names?
Abigail and Emily,
Oh,
and so they've seen an awful lot in their early
It makes them
formative
think
years.
about how grateful they are to be here.
Oh yeah, really grateful to be in this country. Oh my goodness, yeah, we are so fortunate to live in America.
It made you kind of go back and think when you lived there of when, like what it's like when you're not, in a different country compared to here. It brings you back to, the grateful thinking feeling and the humbleness that you have to be where you are.
Yeah, we feel very fortunate to live in America. The freedoms that we enjoy in this country, it is it's terrific. Yeah.
And being a teacher here for 17 years at Riverview School and working at so many multiple different schools and having to, work with different staff members, different teachers, and making these connections and engaging with the students and motivating the students, what kind of, and just training and teaching the students, going out in the community, taking buses, what kind of lessons and skills do you teach your students, so that they can succeed and, can take out a lot of, and take, what you're saying and learn and all the lessons you've taught them? What are the kinds of things you teach them?
Well, the key to all of what you're asking, Zach, is you want the students to experience going out and experience things that going out into the community and experiencing things that perhaps they've never experienced, like doing their own banking, traveling in taxis, traveling in buses, doing transfers from one bus line to another, transferring from a taxi to a bus line, and vice versa. And it's the experience of doing that, okay, with some guidance, with a lot of preparation.
Oh, I've had a lot
okay,
of guidance.
With guidance and a lot of preparation, and then repeating that over and over so it becomes kind of automatic. I know
Like they just get it.
when we just start out in the first year students, some of them are very anxious in the buses and things, but over a year or so and doing this over and over becomes kind of automatic, and oh, this is so terribly easy, using a Charlie card, putting money on a Charlie card, asking appropriate strangers for advice, and another area in banking, dealing with tellers, dealing with debit cards, all of this is new. So that's, it's the experiences, Zach. That's what's so important.
And
that's what
with the different kinds of classes you've taught at Riverview, being travel training, being, CNL, being current events, and pathways to employment, job readiness, to put a guy like you in there who has, lived in different countries and, has experienced so many different things, it's kind of, you kind of feel humbled about it because you see these group of young educators and young professionals who have these learning challenges, but you say to yourself, these kids, they have learning challenges, but they're no different than, any person who does not have a disability. Their purpose is to live a successful life, whether it be working, or having a part-time job, or, and it like the lessons you teach, they come from, do they come from your life experiences or from your schooling? Like, what are your...
Well, they come from a curriculum that's been developed by the school and by the state of Massachusetts. So we look at the students' needs, all right? And that drives our lessons so we can address those needs.
Individually.
Okay? Yeah, exactly.
So like if let's say one student, needs support with, reading and math, knowing what time the bus is. So let's say that the C Line bus is leaving from, the Hyannis Transportation Center and is going to Patriot Square. you want a group of guys to understand and girls to say, 9:30, the bus leaves from the transportation center. We need this bus we're taking is taking us to the Patriot Square and navigating where the spot of the location is, checking in, using their communication, and also budgeting, for maybe a nice cup of coffee after,
Sure.
and that's,
Sure.
it's a good important things,
Yeah, socialization, Zach, is a real big part of all of that.
Yes.
Sure.
And so, when you wake up every morning, and you get out of bed, and you say to yourself, I have to wake up, I've got to go to school, I've got to teach my students, I have my family. Like, what is it like just being a teacher in general?
Well, it's certainly it's certainly very enjoyable. Okay, it's something I really truly enjoy doing. The self-satisfaction I get from seeing folks like you and others grow in their formative years as young adults. Very satisfying, Zach. That's what motivates me. I could have retired permanently a long time ago, but something kept drawing me back to Riverview, and I really enjoy it.
You just can't get enough of seeing the students.
No, and there's another wonderful part about that too, Zach, about Riverview, the support we get from the staff at Riverview, as teachers and the people
Parents.
higher up. But it's the parents too. There's a great deal of support from them, and they really appreciate what's being done for their sons and daughters.
And for them as
very,
well.
it's very gratifying. They're just terrific to work with, parents. Unfortunately, we don't see them all that often. Fall family weekend, and then we see them in the spring transition weekend.
So it's
and
a lot of
graduation.
it's a lot of planning, and it's one of those jobs being a teacher, especially in a school like Riverview, where you have students that have some certain challenges or need some certain supports to help them. It must be a lot of report writing, a lot of curriculum planning with the teachers and the advisors.
Big time. Yeah.
And it's even when you're not teaching in the classroom, you're there, school starts at 8 o'clock, 8:10, out by 3, you see teachers in here till 5 or 6 at night, writing reports,
Or at
writing
home
emails.
doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
That's the nature of this profession.
and
Zach.
setting
A lot of
goals
stuff.
and looking at every student in that class you have on their paper, envisioning it, and getting them, to get the point of, I got this, I can do this, I can put my mind to it, and I can work hard.
Well, that's part of the repetition. When we do things over and over and over again, it becomes an automatic, and a learned skill. As I mentioned before, as we've been talking here with you, answering your questions, if you're taking buses and doing transfers and all of that, what it takes to travel successfully and safely, okay, the repetition there is designed to make it an automatic, something automatic. And the key to, let me mention, these skills that we teach, okay, in the greater Hyannis area, okay, that can be transferred to wherever you live, okay? If you're taking buses in Washington, D.C., and you're taking buses in Los Angeles, or you're taking a bus up in Seattle, or wherever you live, Chicago, it makes no difference, okay?
Transportation all around.
Yeah, and you know who to ask questions for. If to read a schedule, and to be on time, and to tell the driver
Just
where
the
you want to go.
basic old school kind of skills.
And you just transfer those skills. You walk into a bank here in Hyannis, it's the same thing as walking into a bank in Los Angeles. If you need to withdraw money, you know how to do that. If you're in Chicago and you need to withdraw money from your bank account, or you're going to add money to it, or whatever you're doing, You've done it before. It's not a big deal. Okay.
It's the basic fundamentals of adult
Exactly.
living.
Yeah, yeah. You just transfer those skills from what we do to wherever you live when you graduate from Riverview.
That's a, that's a very important thing.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite part of history? I know you're a big history junkie. You love your history.
Oh, I think Roman history, Greek history, and Roman history is really fascinating because so much of what we say and some of our basic democratic principles are based on things that events and developments and language that evolved thousands of years ago. Okay, so, and just as a little aside, Zach, 58% of the words you and I use in our language comes directly from the Latin. And another 23%, add on to that, comes from ancient Greek, which then went into the Latin language.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's kind of, when you look into all of that, it's kind of interesting.
I haven't had a chance to look at that, but that
Yeah,
sounds
it's
really
kind of fascinating.
that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
So, in your time in the military, what were your different positions in the military?
I flew intelligence missions for the United States Navy, and I had part responsibility with working with special weapons. And I did an awful lot of photography, intelligence type photography.
You have to
in the
show us
Navy.
those photos sometime.
I couldn't do that. I don't
No,
have-
just the photographies of your time in
yeah,
other
I
countries.
don't know. I don't have those. The pictures I took went somewhere else, Zach. Pardon me. They went somewhere else. They were not in very special cameras and things like that. They didn't come home to me. Okay, that film went somewhere else
Yes.
after our missions were finished.
So, what else did you do in the military besides for flying missions? Or did you?
Well, that's primarily what I did. I mean, I was on a flight crew in
long were your
Jacksonville,
flights?
Florida, and then I was transferred because of my rating and my work with special weapons to Brunswick, Maine, and so we flew out of there to forward bases.
What is something that inspires you?
What is something that inspires me?
Yeah.
My family, my girls, my relatives, and my work. Okay, a lot of things influence me, Zach, in a very positive way.
In what way is that?
Well, because I enjoy what I do. I'm enjoying what I'm doing right here with you right now.
Yes, you
I'm
seem
enjoying with
very
the, the
happy.
people in the control room. I enjoy when I go back and to school later this morning. I have a couple of classes after lunch. I enjoy that. Okay, that inspires me.
It
to
makes
keep
your
going.
day when you
Yeah, it
and your
does.
kids too as well.
Oh yeah, my daughter's coming this Friday night, and her husband and grandchildren, and
It's nice to
yeah,
see them all grown up.
Sure, yeah, they're growing up. Yep.
That's probably a good feeling for you.
Well, they're pretty successful gals. So
What do they do for their work? both
one of
them?
my daughters is out in Las Vegas, and she's in training to be the budget director of that city.
Oh, wow, that's a
Yeah,
big thing.
Yeah, it is a big thing. Yeah,
Big
budget director,
responsibilities.
Big responsibilities. She's a very bright gal. She works hard. And my other daughter is very much involved in quilting and teaches that, and
Oh,
works
wow.
in a fabric store. Up in Maine.
So, what is your favorite genre of music?
Oh, Zach, you're gonna age me now. I like oldies. Okay, I like oldies from the 50s and 60s and 70s. Okay,
Frank Sinatra?
And I know that's before my time, but I do. He's okay. He's a good singer, but he's really more out of the 40s, 30s, and 40s with the big bands and stuff with Sinatra, and that age. But songs out of the out of the 50s and 60s and 70s.
Golden oldies,
Yeah,
right?
golden oldies. Yeah. Okay.
What are your plans for the upcoming season, holiday season?
Oh, Thanksgiving we're having up in Boston with relatives
wow.
and things. Yeah, and then we haven't really nailed down what we're going to do at Christmas time, but
Yeah,
we'll be.
you know,
it'll be with family. That's for sure.
that's a great thing. It's something to. So for my plans this year, I'm going to be. My parents have a second house in Arizona. That's where they're planning to retire. My dad, who's been a businessman for many years, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She also worked in, like she was a sales manager for Fendi,
Yep.
and for many years before. And then after both me and my sister were born, she was a stay-at-home mom. And so my dad works hard all these years to afford for me to, you know, come to school and, you know, provide for his family. And, you know, and this year is going to be an amazing year because, you know, I'm going to be spending some time with family over the Thanksgiving break and, you know, being in Arizona, enjoying the nice weather. And
Yeah, it'll be
just
nice out there.
being thankful for things. So
Yeah.
what are some of your the last question is going to lead me to what I just said. What are some of your things you're thankful for?
Oh, Zach. Oh my goodness. Do you want a long list? I can give
Just
you-
like 5 things.
Zach, I'm very thankful. I had a wonderful, wonderful mom and dad growing up in Sherborne, just a little town west of Boston. I'm very thankful for the education I got as I grew up. I'm very thankful to have a very healthy family. I'm thankful for the job that I have. I'm extremely thankful to have been born in this wonderful country and be a citizen of the United States of America. I have an awful lot to be thankful for, Zach. Yeah, family.
Family's an
the
important
Riverview family, my own family.
You know what I'm very
So anyway, yeah, thank you.
know what
But
it-
thank you
yes,
for
yes.
all of your questions.
Yes,
Zach. I
so
really
what I'm
appreciate it.
thankful for is I'm thankful for my parents who have sacrificed a lot, my mom and dad, all my family, sister, just the staff here, you know, and my friends. And sometimes at times, you know, you get like, you always feel that the staff are, you know, they're always on you, you know, and your parents, you know, but they're on you because they care. They want you to succeed and they want you to do the right thing and they want to see you just, you know, focus, you know. And well, thank you for coming here on this show today. We
Oh,
appreciate
you're very welcome,
it.
Zach.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thanks.
It was a great interview.
I
We'll
enjoyed
see you
it.
guys next time.